guys, Joe Thatcher here with Midwest Military Equipment out of Washington, Missouri. Next to me here, this is a Stewart Stevenson M1085A1 long wheelbase truck. We just recently finished this truck for a customer, Casey, out of Nevada, getting ready to ship it out. We're actually going to be sending this truck out to Tracks Off Grid out of Kentucky, and they're going to be the ones that are building the box for the back of the truck. So as you notice, this truck actually came to us as a cab and chassis already, no bed on it. We get a lot of questions. Hey, are the frame rails standard 34 inches? The frame rails are 34-inch frame rails. We can set up a truck, either a 1085, 1078, 1083, any truck. We can go ahead and set it up as a cab and chassis if you're needing a cab and chassis truck. So if you look, what we've done is we've provided the box builder, which is going to be Tracks Off Grid, a nice clean frame rail to start with. This has actually got, we left the long sills in place for this one. These are removable if they did in the future want to take these long sills off, bring the height of the box down. Really all depends on how they're engineer and design the box, which we're not box builders, don't claim to be, don't want to be in the box building business. However, we do know quite a few people that do build some pretty awesome boxes. So if you're wanting a cab and chassis truck and you're wanting to have a box put on it, we can definitely help assist you try to find the right box builder. We'll just kind of go over a couple of the characteristics of this vehicle, starting at the rear, being that this is an A1R. This has got the slide out pintle hitch. So this is a newer pintle design on the A1R truck. So there's actually a pin underneath here that you can pull. You can slide this hitch out about a foot. We do have a 2-inch and a 2.5-inch drop hitch for this. This particular truck already came with LED lighting on it. You can see it's got truck light LED taillights, truck light LED marker lights. We've added our Midwest Military Equipment mud flaps as always. Walking forward on the truck, it's got Goodyear 395/85 R20 tires. The CTIS, I drove it today and the CTIS was functioning. However, we do not do anything with the CTIS. What we do, which is important, is we go to all these wheel valves, make sure that they are functioning the way that they should. So the problem that we see mostly with the CTIS is the modules in the cab will go bad, pressure sensors can go bad, but most importantly, these wheel valves. If these wheel valves start to leak, you've got a Schrader valve here where you can bypass it. So if you want to delete the CTIS on your truck, even if you didn't buy a truck from us, you can go ahead, disconnect the module inside the cab and manually inflate and deflate the tire right here at the Schrader valve. But what we do on every truck we sell is we make sure all the tires hold air. So we check these valves, make sure the wheel O-rings are good, make sure the wheel valve stems are good. Other than that, CTIS is the customer's responsibility. We do not want to work on the CTIS. The biggest problem a lot of people ask us, why? Why mainly is there's a lot of different variables with the system, and it could work great today and it could not work tomorrow. And for us as a company, across the board, we don't want to be able to say, hey, this worked, and then 2 weeks from now you call us and say it doesn't work. That's very important to us, and it's very important that we disclose to our customers up front, and we do try to cover that. So Casey, whenever we had this truck listed, it was just factory gears, no air conditioning. We've actually added highway gears in this truck, so we've taken the ring and pinions out, put new ring and pinions in, making them 307s. We've installed new drive shafts in the, we've inspected and installed new U-joints in the drive lines on both the intermediate rear and front axle. The front axle got completely disassembled. We repacked all the wheel bearings, inspected all the wheel bearings, all new axle seals, inner and outer hub, CTIS seals, completely gone through the front hub assembly. The transmission cooler, since this is already a cab and chassis, it's mounted nice here, good and low, so they shouldn't have any clearance problems whenever they go to put on a box. Gone through the braking system, make sure all the brakes work as they should and have been adjusted. Sway bar bushings in good condition. We made sure that the spare tire operation is fully functional along with the cab lift. Being that this is an A1R truck, you'll see one of the main differences on the cab is this has got the second gen handles on it. The second gen handles, the factory LMTV earlier handles are a pull up or a pull down. These are a pull to the side, a little bit beefier, more robust handle design. They also have these grab handles on the side of the cab, which is a nice feature on getting in and out of the truck, which this is something we've been talking about producing. So guys that have an older truck, stay tuned. We're probably going to end up offering a grab handle kit for the earlier model trucks. The antenna's mounted there for the radio and AC system that we installed. Going over to the front of the truck, as I'd stated, all the lights on the cab were originally LED. The only thing we did change is we went ahead and threw LED headlights in it, so that way all the lighting on the truck was LED. If we want to hop up in the cab, we'll kind of take a look at the AC system and the radio system. So being that this is an A1R, the A1R center console is the same as the early ones. The only thing that you'll see different is the push-pull valves have been the updated push-pull valves that are right here. The AC system that we've installed, this is a kit we've been doing for a little over a year now, probably a year and a half. We've probably had, I don't know, roughly 40 of these systems out the door now. Been very, very happy with them. So we've got a Marine Bluetooth radio here, and it's an AM/FM. You can plug an aux into it. However, we do not provide an aux port on the system itself. It's got two 6.5-inch Marine speakers. These are the controls for the AC here, which are very simple: high and low, fan speed. We've got a SIG port, two USB ports, and a 6-gang switch panel to wire in any accessories. All these are on keyed power. So the keyed power, you just turn the switch on, you need the AC kick on, run there, fan speed, shut the switch off, those go off. One thing that I wanted to touch on too is being that this is an A1R truck, it does have the newer dash panel in it, so you can see the odometer reading is digital on this truck versus the earlier trucks. It is not digital. The gauge design is a little bit different. You can see they're all black gauges. Overall basic start sequence switches all the same. This truck does have a high and low idle switch since it does have a C7, and any 3126 or C7 trucks will have that high or low idle switch. Then we've got the exhaust brake switch here. Nice thing about our air conditioning system, going back to it, is it does allow the factory heater box to remain in the same location. We've had some questions and comments posted on some of our videos. Well, how do you get to this to service it? So it's very simple. We've got a screw here, 3 screws across the front side here and 1 there. Those, you pull the cover off. This is just simply a cover that the radio and the switches are mounted to. We leave you enough wiring on it where you're able to scoot it back quite a bit. And the evap unit itself is actually located below this. This is a plenum type evap, so if you want a lot of air, more air volume just strictly out of one vent, you're able to shut the vents. These also rotate 360 degrees, which is a nice feature. So it's say if your wife or significant others in the passenger seat and they want the most air possible, you can shut all these vents, and this being a sealed plenum will shoot all the air directly to that side. And it's also got fresh air return on the inside, so it is a recirculating system. We'll go ahead and start the truck up here. All the gauges will come up. This has got a push button light switch. Push button light switch are a little bit different than some of the standard 3-lever light switches. Since we're going to take this truck on a drive, we're just going to go ahead and put it in the service drive position and then hit enter. That'll turn the lights off. And then parking lights, which means that we don't have headlights or panel bright, panel dim. These are a LED backlit gauge, so they do not necessarily dim out as well as the original ones do. To turn it off, you hit all off, enter. See, nothing is illuminated on the switch panel itself. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. Shut your door on your side. We'll be taking from the cruise down to the bottom of the hill. See how these highway gears do. So, important thing too, being that this is not a dip switch style speedometer, it is a digital display speedometer. This has actually got ECM calibrations for the speed settings. So what we do is we have CAD ET2 software. We go in and we change the ECM parameter settings to update the gear ratio to the new 307 versus originally it had the 390 gear ratio. So that way the speedometer reads accurately, which that's an important thing, you know, when regearing these trucks. The A1 trucks and with the older style gauges and the 3116 trucks, which I refer to as the A0, those do not need CAD ET in order to recalibrate the speedometer. You can recalibrate the speedometer on the 3126 trucks using CAD ET, but it is also dip switch speedometer. So it is fairly simple just to go ahead and change that just by removing the speedometer, changing the dip switch setting on it, and being good to go. Another thing being that this is an A1R truck is it's got the factory insulation in the ceiling. Definitely helps in the heat of summer. Makes it a lot more comfortable in here, especially when we got the air conditioning added to it. But these C7 trucks, I'll get on in here, they run very, very well. So do the 3126s and even the 3116s. But the C7 really is a powerhouse, and it's one of the most modern engines you're going to get in the LMTVs. There are a few LMTV Bravos out there that have 6.7 Cummins motors in them, but those have got DPF systems and EGRs. What's nice about these 3116s, 3126s, and C7s is they don't have all that emissions equipment. So even though this truck does have a 20-foot long frame and a lot longer wheelbase, as you can see, turning radius on the 1085 is pretty darn awesome still, whipping right around the cul-de-sac. Truck seems to just run out very, very well. We're actually going to be hauling this ourselves. Our driver Gary, we're going to be loading it up either later this week or first part of next week to go ahead and get this delivered down to Tracks. That way they can start building the box. I've not spoken with Casey, the customer, much in regards to what all he has in store for the box, but you know, he's definitely got a great platform to start with, and you know, the opportunities are endless when it comes to how you want to upfit and trick out a box. You can do a lot of really cool stuff. I'm not sure if he's going to repaint the truck. Paint condition on this truck overall, it's very nice for the age of the vehicle. You know, this truck's got odometer showing right at 1,360 miles on it, which we pulled the engine hours off the ECM, and seems like the miles are more than likely accurate. So this truck really honestly never got used. I think whenever we got it in here, it had around 1,250 or 1,300 miles on it. So we put about 60 miles on it, out running, driving it, exercising it. We exercised it before Casey was to purchase it, added the gears to it, and then we've exercised it some more just to make sure everything's good. So yeah, overall turned out really awesome. We'll hop out here real quick and we'll kind of go over the engine on the C7 real quick, and that should be it for today. But so I'll go ahead and set my trailer brake here, turn the engine switch off there, which I'll show you another characteristic of the A1R and some of the A1 trucks is they do have a battery disconnect switch, which is a very nice feature, especially if you're going to be storing the vehicle long term somewhere. If we go underneath the panel here, right on the bottom side of the battery box here, below the exhaust, it's a battery disconnect switch. So right now batteries are off. Turn it this way, batteries are on. So we're going to leave it in the off position just for right now. That's a neat characteristic there that the A1s and the A1Rs have. A1Rs, everything's pretty much the same as the A1s: transmission oil dipstick, engine oil dipstick, coolant. And then you've got your engine and transmission fill here. What's nice about that on the A1 and A1R trucks is you do not have to pull the dipstick out from underneath the splash liner. I'll go over here to the other side of the cab. We'll raise this up. So the control station is the same as A0, A1, A1R. We're going to go ahead and hit this to raise, making sure that we have it on cab tilt. So this is an air over hydraulic cab pump system. Touched on it a lot in our other videos, but I always think it's important to reiterate stuff. This is a manual override, so you have to have air pressure in order for this cab to raise or lower. However, there is a manual override where if you had to get to the engine and you weren't able to start it or weren't able to apply air pressure to the system, you can put a bottle jack handle in there and manually pump the cab up. Since we just had the truck running, we've got plenty of air pressure. We're able to just go ahead and run the pump up the way that it is. This particular truck has still got, go ahead and get it up the rest of the way, and I'll talk a little bit about the engine. So as you can see, it's got a pack brake exhaust brake, 100 amp dual voltage alternator, which those are 12 and 24 volt alternator. These are oil sample analyses here. Civilian world, don't really need to worry too much about that. That's for pulling engine oil and transmission oil samples. These are accessory start switches, so you can actually start the truck for maintenance outside of the vehicle. So you've got a battery on switch, you've got a starter switch, and you've got an ignition switch there. You flip these up. So if you're working on the engine and needed to turn it over, you are able to do that out on the outside of the truck. Walking over to the driver's side, power steering reservoir is in the same spot. You can see the ECM for the C7 engine is located directly behind those two covers there. Engine water separator filter and primary fuel filter are right there, very easily to access, and that is a manual primer pump as well. We've added our AC compressor and AC compressor bracket to the front of the accessory drive on the engine here. It is a belt-driven compressor. We've added a V-belt to it, which you have to remove the fan clutch in order to install that. Just remove the original spacer, install our new spacer. That gives you an extra groove. This is a serpentine belt motor, so you do have the one V-belt, and then you've got the main serpentine belt that runs the rest of the drive of the motor. We've mounted our receiver dryer there underneath the front bumper. It's where our AC condenser is mounted. You can kind of see it, the AC condenser, and there's a single electronic fan behind there, and that is where our condenser mounts. So we'll go ahead and lower the cab back down. It's going to be a similar process to raising it. We're going to turn it to lower here. Hit down to get it over that point where it cams over. The cab will drift down. However, if it's leaned too far forward, it does have a safety lock that actually holds the cab up. So we'll run this down, make sure that it seats into the cab lock. Get it all the way down. So that should really about cover it for this truck here. Excited to hear what Casey's feedback is when he finally gets to see it. I'm not sure if he's traveling out to Kentucky to where the truck's going to see the box progress, so hopefully he'll get to see it here pretty soon. He did not have the opportunity to come by. He purchased this truck sight unseen. So if you want to check out more awesome products, or you're looking for a cab and chassis truck like this, be sure to check us out online at MidwestMilitaryEquipment.com. We'd love to hear your feedback on how this video was, and kind of let us know if you've got any characteristics of LMTVs or Stewart Stevensons in general on that, what you'd like us to cover and kind of go over. We'd be more than happy to do a video, so be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.